Hello, ladies and gentlemen, loyal Imperial citizens and rebel scum alike. Welcome to another Liam Maiden gameplay video. Back with more Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes today. You know, it's an interesting time in the community right now. We've had a lot of changes happen to the game. A lot of new interesting changes are coming up in the game, and some of them are proving a little bit controversial. People talking about some burnout in the community, and I do recognize that. That is definitely there. I'm not trying to minimize that, but at the same time, I do feel very hopeful about the future of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And with that in mind, I just want to share my top 5 tips for getting the most out of the game. Now this goes for new players as well as mid-level players, veteran players. Hopefully there'll be something here for everyone to agree with, disagree with, maybe just talk about. But anyway, without any further ado, here are my top 5 tips for getting the most out of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Number 1, have a goal. Set yourself a goal. Now in this game, it's a resource management game, right? It's a hero collector game, but it's a resource management game. We're managing a lot of heroes, a lot of resources. It can get overwhelming sometimes. Now, as many of you know, I recently set myself the goal of unlocking Sith Eternal Emperors. You can see right here, I'm still in the process of getting my Galactic Legend up to relic level, but setting yourself a goal like this can really help you feel like you've got a purpose when you're struggling with the grind in the game. Now you don't have to go after Galactic Legend. It really helped me and gave me great direction over the last 7 or 8 months, but there's other ways to set goals. What I'd recommend you do is go to the journey guide and take a look. Now if you're a new player, you can start off right at the beginning here, tier 1. Maybe you want to set yourself the goal of unlocking Grandmaster Yoda. So you're looking for those 5 Jedi initially at 5-star and then at 7-star to max him out. That's a goal you can set yourself right off the bat. Or maybe even right off the bat you want to go a little further and go for, you know, a higher level character like Padme, who's got end game utility as well. Or you can go, of course, straight for a Galactic Legend too. It's completely up to you, but setting yourself a goal can help give you purpose in the game, and it can help you get through when the grind is proving a little bit tricky. Number 2, find a good guild. Now guilds are really at the heart of the community in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and all games like this as well. Now obviously guilds are key to unlocking various aspects of the game. You gain access to raids, which is how you can unlock certain characters. On the journey guide you can also get a ton of resources from raids. You also gain access to these regular events that roll around, so the territory battles and territory wars as well against other guilds, and they are great ways again to unlock characters and to get a ton of gear. But in addition to that, guilds are also a way that you actually interact regularly with other players, right? It's how we can support each other in the game. So in terms of finding a guild, you're not only looking for a guild that's at your level of gameplay, right? It's no good starting a guild that only does 7-star raids and only does geo-territory battles. If you're brand new, you won't be able to participate and get the full advantage of those raids. It's also about finding a guild that matches your personality and your style of gameplay. Some guilds, especially guilds at the very top level, are incredibly intense. Every single move has to be coordinated on Discord. People take it really seriously, which is fair enough. I mean, that's how you reach the very top levels in this game. Other guilds are maybe more relaxed. They're for beginning players or maybe mid and late game players, but just people who aren't taking it quite as seriously, casual gamers. One of the most important things you can do in this game, and one of the things that really makes Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes so much fun for me now, I've been playing it for several years, is the guild activity. Interacting with my guild mates and planning and engaging in guild activities on a daily basis. Find yourself a good guild, a guild that is not only at your level, but also matches your personality and your gameplay style. Tip number 3, spend resources, and indeed any money that you may or may not be actually willing to spend in the game, spend it wisely. Now, as we already mentioned, and maybe this goes without saying, but as we already mentioned, this game can get kind of complex. There are lots of different currencies in the game and lots of different areas in which you spend this currency, whether you're buying character shards or gear or mods. There's lots of different ways to upgrade characters and to invest in various characters and various various modes of play in the game. This kind of links into the first point, setting yourself a goal, because you want to be cognizant, you want to be strategic in your spending of resources. You want to be cognizant of that goal that you set yourself to make sure that all of your spending in game moves you closer to that goal. All of it has a purpose. Now this goes for spending resources and currency. It also goes for spending actual money on the packs. Now a while ago I made a video about how much money I spent on Sith Eternal Emperor to try and unlock him. I'll put a link in the top right hand corner. One of the things that I spoke about there is crystal packs. Now I spent about 300 bucks on Sith Eternal, and a lot of that went to crystals. Most of it went to crystals. I only bought one pack that wasn't crystal based. Now the reason that I bought crystals, crystals are basically the base money, the base currency in the game. So by spending money, if you're going to spend money, and obviously only spend money if you're comfortable doing this, if you can actually afford it, but by spending money on crystals, you give yourself the most flexibility in the game, because then you can decide how you're going to spend that, whether it's on resources or refreshes, and you can make sure everything you do spend is moving you towards your goal. Tip number 4, bring balance to the Force. And when I say the Force, I mean, of course, your roster. Now, as I keep saying, this game is pretty large. There are loads and loads of characters to collect, and as you can see here, my roster, after playing it for several years and making some pretty unwise decisions right back at the beginning, my roster's pretty bloated. I have a lot of characters here that I've unlocked. Some I've geared up, some I haven't, but I'm not really using them. They're not doing anything for my roster. So, another way to word this one is really just farm wisely. So again, we're back to that idea of having a goal in mind. Really, there are 2 ways to farm in a game like this. This goes for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, Marvel Strike Force, any hero collector game that involves resource management and farming. You can either farm tall or you can farm wide. My roster is a very wide roster, but it's an underdeveloped roster. A tall roster would be a roster that, of any size, but probably a smaller roster where people have focused on really powering up a smaller number of characters, taking people up to those really higher levels, especially the relic levels. In reality, you want to do a mixture of both. You don't want to have too many relics, otherwise you're going to totally throw off your matchmaking when it comes to being matched with people in Squad Arena and also Grand Arena. But at the same time, you don't want to have no relics. You don't want to fall behind, rather, your peers on your shard in terms of where you should be, as it were, in terms of gear level. You really want to balance things, and some of the best rosters out there are well balanced. They have a lot of tunes at a similar gear level, so they don't have too many relics that they're not using that artificially inflate their power, so relicking up characters that don't really bring any utility to their squad. And similarly, they don't have a massive bloated roster with a bunch of, say, Gear 9 characters in that they can't really use in Grand Arena. I'm talking about myself when I mention that. I really need to do a lot of work on my roster. Focusing on Sith Eternal Emperor was great. It allowed me to unlock Galactic Legend, but it does mean that my roster has become really misweighted. As you can see, when I scroll through the characters, I don't have enough characters at the Gear 12 level to really justify this size of roster. So what I need to focus on after I relic up Sith Eternal is getting many more characters up to Gear 12, and then deciding very carefully who I take up to Gear 13 and actually relic them beyond that. But what you're going for is a roster where most of your characters are around the same kind of gear level, maybe with 1 or 2 standout exceptions for people that you're really going for. If you're going for a Galactic Legend, obviously you need to relic people. Some characters you're going to take up to that relic level, but when you do start taking characters up to the relic level, you don't want to go overboard. You want to make sure that your roster balances itself out. Secondly, as I've mentioned, you want to make sure that this is a roster that you can use in multiple different game modes. So you want to make sure you have enough teams to put on defense and offense in Grand Arena. You want to make sure that you're farming toward your guild goals in terms of the kind of raids that your guild is running and the kind of territory battles that you're taking part in. And in all of this, you don't want to neglect ships. Ships has kind of been the ugly stepchild. That's probably not a PC thing to say, but it's been the kind of overlooked part of the game for quite a while now. With the recent changes that we had to Grand Arena, it's really more important than ever that you invest in ships and really attend to this part of the game. So maybe you want to make sure that some of the characters you're bringing up to those higher gear levels are pilots, for example, because then you get the double whammy. You can use them in Grand Arena on their own, and you can also use them in their ship. So you just want to be wise with your investment and make sure that you're not over investing in a certain character or in a certain area of the game. You really want to bring that balance to the roster, that balance to the force. And finally, my fifth piece of advice, my fifth tip: have fun. I know maybe that's a nothing tip, maybe it goes without saying, but did you know that Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is a game? I'm serious. I think sometimes we forget that. There's so many videos out there, and I'm guilty of this just as much as anyone, talking about the most efficient way to do things, how to get the most out of your roster. I mean, some of these tips that I've presented today could arguably fall into that category, right? They're kind of taking something that's meant to be fun, that's meant to be a game, and they're really kind of making it a little bit like a job. You really have to put investment into this. You have to put a lot of thought and effort and work into this to get the most out of the game. Now, to an extent, I do buy into that, right? Everybody loves winning, everybody loves doing well, everybody wants to have a good roster to be able to get those rewards and to be able to enjoy all that this game has to offer. But I do think that sometimes we go a little bit overboard. We focus a little bit too much on being the best, on being the most efficient, getting there the quickest possible way, building up the best possible roster, that we forget that what we're actually supposed to be doing here is having fun. I mean, we all play this game because we love Star Wars, right? So yes, you know, in the past I've made videos looking at what's the best first squad that you should go after. Should you go after Phoenix? Should you go after Separatists? You know, trying to get the best and the most out of your farming, and that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, if you want to play this game and you want to totally just max out Cup or Mob Enforcer, or I mean maybe someone who's a little more realistic, maybe you want to really max out Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum because you're a huge Rebels fan, you really like that version of the character, that story arc that Ahsoka goes on in that series, so you just want to max out that character, go for it. Is Ahsoka Tano an excellent toon? Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum, anyway? Is she an amazing toon? Are you going to get the most out of her by taking that character to Relic 8? I mean, no. Honestly, if you were going to spend those resources, there are dozens of characters that technically you'd be better off spending all of that time and energy on. But hey, if it makes you happy to take Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum up as high as you can in the game, do it. At the end of the day, this game is all about and should be all about having fun, and I think the more we get serious about this, the longer it goes on, we risk forgetting that. So this is just a gentle reminder at the end that whatever you're doing, however much attention you may or may not have paid to my hints and tips here, make sure you're doing what makes you happy, make sure you are enjoying the game. Well, there you go. Those are my 5 hints and tips and suggestions for getting the most out of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. What do you think? Is there anything that I've missed? Maybe you disagree with my points, with some of my logic here. Let me know. Thoughts, comments, criticisms, suggestions, always welcome in the comments down below. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me today. I really appreciate it. If you have found this video informative or entertaining in any way, please consider giving it a like, a thumbs up down below. It helps out the channel and I really do appreciate it. And hey, while you're here, why not consider subscribing to Liam Aiden Gameplay? I drop new gameplay videos for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and Marvel Strike Force every single week, and I would love to have you along for the ride. Well, that is all from me today. I'll see you in the next one. In the meantime, look after each other, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.